Hi guys, how's everyone doing tonight? Sunny here. So let me just get this up. So I've got the live going. I am going to pop the link to the blog into the comments, and so you guys can follow along if you should happen to like. Let's see, comment here. Okay, so the blog's popped into the comments, so you're more than welcome to pull the blog up and follow along with me as we go through our topic tonight. So first and foremost, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sunny Brigham. I am a clinical and integrated nutritionist. I am board certified, spent a good amount of time doing an internship, took a fancy test, and I passed. And I am here in the North Texas area, although I provide my services nationwide. So tonight, we are going to be talking all things intermittent fasting. So, things that we'll be covering this evening will be what exactly intermittent fasting is, what it can help with as far as dietary conditions or diseases, those sorts of things. Who should avoid it? Are there particular populations that should really not try intermittent fasting? And then I'll give you my parting thoughts on it for what it's worth. As always, if you have questions as I am gabbing at you, please feel free to drop them in the comments, and as I am wrapping up, I'll get over to the comments and I'll answer everybody's questions at the end. But don't wait to the end to put your comments in. Make sure that you ask your questions as we're going. Okay, so intermittent fasting. Sorry, the dogs are walking around. It's a little loud in here. The intermittent fasting is basically a form of fasting. So most people know fasting is you fast. You don't eat. Maybe you drink some water, but you typically don't eat for a set period of time. People have used it for hundreds of years for health purposes. It's in almost every religious scripture that's out there. It's mentioned in the Bible. It's mentioned in the Quran. So it's kind of widespread and has been used for a long time. Let's see.
Yes.
Sorry. They're excited. It's raining here, and so they have a doggy door on this side, and we've blocked it off because they like to go out there and roll in the mud. And one time we were gone, and we came home, and they had all gone out and rolled in the mud and then came back in and decided to lay on the furniture. And so we had mud all over our furniture, the floors, the house, everything. So now every time it rains, we just block off the doggy door so they can't go in and out. And so now they're going out in the front right now. Okay, so fasting, religious purposes, we've kind of all done that. So intermittent fasting is exactly what it means. So basically intervals of fasting and feeding is what we call it. So fasting and feeding. And you'll hear me refer to the term as a feeding window. It's basically a period of time where you can eat. It's an odd term, but that's what it is. So when we come to intermittent fasting does not mean you can never have food, or like on traditional fasts where you'll go 20 days with only water, which I don't recommend outside of medical supervision. Intermittent fasting is basically periods of time where you fast and then periods of time where you feed. And there's two popular ways to do intermittent fasting. The first is to basically pick 2 days a week where you do not consume any type of food. You can have black tea, you can have black coffee, you can have plain herbal teas, and you can have all the water that you can drink. And there are 2 non-consecutive days. That's really important. Tuesdays and Fridays tend to be very popular, or like Sunday and Thursday. You want a good like 3 to 4 day span between those 2 days. The other way to do intermittent fasting is you practice it every day. So you fast for, let's say, 16 hours, which is a popular one. And then you feed for 8 hours. So every day you would fast for 16 hours and then you would feed for 8 hours. And so that feeding window is typically something like, my husband's making fun of my arm movements. 12 to 8, so noon to 8 p.m. So your first meal of the day would be lunch, and then you would have some snacks, and you would have dinner, and then maybe one more snack, and then you would stop eating, and then you would fast from 8 p.m. all the way to noon the next day. When you get up in the morning, yes, you can have coffee, yes, you can have tea, yes, you can have water, but there shouldn't be anything in those. You want to take in as little calories as possible during that time frame. That happens to be the most popular version. I don't know many people that do the 2 non-consecutive days. I know plenty of people that do the 16-hour fast with the 8-hour feed. That seems to be a pretty popular way to intermittent fast. Okay, so who can benefit from intermittent fasting? The first category that we have are people that have PCOS and type 2 diabetes. And I lumped these two together. Yes, they're two very different conditions, but I lumped these two together because at the basis, both of them have insulin dysregulation. So their pancreas isn't pumping out the insulin their body needs to take in the glucose into the cells. So PCOS obviously typically happens in women, and then diabetes happens in both men and women. So what they did is they did intermittent fasting in a couple of studies. In one animal study, they actually showed that intermittent fasting reduced the fasting glucose level. So if you've ever gone to the doctor and you've had some labs and they tell you we need you to fast beforehand, usually fasting glucose is one of them that they test, especially if you have diabetes or something like that. And so what they found was that doing intermittent fasting, it helped keep down fasting glucose levels. And this was actually repeated in some human studies, so it's actually been done in both animal and human studies to show effective for helping people overcome fasting glucose, which helps to take the ease off of the pancreas having to produce so much insulin, which is how we end up getting PCOS and type 2 diabetes because of insulin resistance. So this only works though if you have insulin dysregulation. So if you don't have insulin dysregulation, it's really going to have very little effect on your fasting glucose, which is perfectly fine, because if your fasting glucose is fine, we really don't want to make it lower than it already is. Okay, so the next category that this works for is people that are attempting to lose weight. Bonus, right? So there's a study that I referenced in the blog that overweight individuals who followed intermittent fasting for 8 weeks lost on average 9% of their body weight, which is really good because there's several studies that show that losing just as much as 5% of your overall body weight can have significant improvement in your health. So intermittent fasting, good for weight loss, as long as you do it right. We'll talk about ways that people do it wrong here in a minute. Cholesterol levels has a significant impact on your decreasing the LDLs and your fasting triglycerides, so that's good. I put a little caveat in here that it's important to note that that wasn't an obese population, so they probably lost a little bit of weight, cleaned up their diet, so you have to take that into account as well. And this is my absolute favorite byproduct of intermittent fasting, cognition. So there are tons of studies that show that intermittent fasting is really good in the aging population. And so as we age, I think it's pretty prevalent, most people know that as we age, we tend to not be as sharp as we used to, and that just happens. And intermittent fasting has been shown to be protective in the strength of your synapses, so your brain firing, our ability to generate new brain tissue as we age, which is great, and an overall protection of brain health. A bonus, if you're a plant-based or a vegan out there like I am, studies also showed that low protein, high carbohydrate diets were neuroprotective as well. That was in one of the Cognition studies I was reading, so I thought I'd just throw that in there for anybody that's out there that's plant-based or vegan or even thinking about it. So great thing to try for keeping you sharp in the mind. Okay, so populations that should avoid it. Sorry, I'm always drinking when I talk to you guys. I don't know why. I always get like super cotton mouth. I know why. It's because this like freaks me out and I'm sweating buckets here. But I get very cottony mouth, so I have to have tea or something when I'm chit-chatting. Okay, so people who should not avoid it. if you have problems with your sleep, if you have problems getting to sleep, staying asleep, you have to take sleep aids, you've been diagnosed with insomnia, anything like that, you absolutely do not want to attempt intermittent fasting. The reason being is that intermittent fasting can actually cause sleep impairment. Some people that find that they're starting intermittent fasting might wake up in the middle of the night hungry, and if you're already experiencing sleep problems, we don't want to create more sleep problems. And by the way, if you wake up in the middle of the night hungry, intermittent fasting may not be for you anyway. Disordered eating. If you ever had an eating disorder, if you currently have an eating disorder, or you feel that you can be obsessive about your food, intermittent fasting is not right for you. Eating disorders are, they're just a very tricky topic. Their recovery tends to be lifelong, just like any other disorder out there, like, alcoholism, drug abuse, those types of things. It's a lifelong battle, something that you're constantly going to have to, be on top of. And so we don't want to create an environment where you could eventually become more obsessive about your food by intermittent fasting. So if you ever had an eating disorder, we don't want to do intermittent fasting. If you are an individual that is looking for a passport to eat shitty, that's what it says, then intermittent fasting is not right for you. The purpose of intermittent fasting is to limit your food intake, but also change your lifestyle so you're eating quality foods during that feeding window, right? So you don't want to break your fast where you've done all these great things to your body. Maybe you've exercised in your fasted state and you're now at lunch and you're getting ready to fill up on some good proteins and carbs and fruits and vegetables and all these good things, but instead you reach for Burger King or Pizza Hut or something like that. That's not really the point of intermittent fasting. We want to change the way that we're eating as well as cycling our food. And then this is a really, really big one. So this is super, super important. If you have any hormonal imbalances, you do not want to do intermittent fasting. Calorie restriction can have a very profound effect on, especially on female hormones. And any significant changes, such as going from normal eating right to 16-hour fast, 8-hour feed, can have a pretty disturbing effect on the body as you adjust. And it can throw off our hormones. So we definitely don't want to intermittent fast if you have hormonal problems. And so while you're switching to intermittent fasting, if you notice anything like your period stops, or you're feeling different than you normally do, or maybe you have some hair loss all of a sudden where your hair is falling out or it's getting coarse, if you feel like you're getting very irritated all of the time, or you have some mood swings. So that's a good indication that the intermittent fast is starting to affect your hormones, and you should probably go back to eating regularly. And if you don't want to try eating regularly, you can always expand your fast window. The 16-8, so 16-hour fast, 8-hour feed, is just, it's a standard, right? So you can alter that for what works best for you. Some people might want to do, a 10-hour fast or a 12-hour fast, start slow, maybe work their way up to a 14-hour fast. You have to do what's right for you, and the most important thing that you have to remember with anything that you do dietary-wise is always listen to your body. It's always talking to you. You need to perk your ears up and you need to listen to it and take heed of what it's telling you. Okay, so here are my thoughts on intermittent fasting. I'm a fan. I like intermittent fasting. I think it's great for the right people. And you are never going to know if it's right for you if you don't try it, as long as you don't fall into one of those categories of people that we talked about. So hormone imbalances, eating disorders, sleep disturbance already, or you're just looking to try something where you can just eat a whole bunch of junk food in a short period of time. I am a fan of it. I don't think, so one problem I see with it is rebound eating. So that's a big problem. When you get to your feeding window, let's say that you fasted, it's noon, now you want to eat and you are ravenous. And so you just start like picking up all of your food and putting it in your mouth and eating it. And it's all, you know, all healthy food, right? But then all that's gone and you're still hungry and you go out for more, and then you're looking for convenience foods. It's called rebound eating. That's something that you need to pay attention to. If you feel like you're rebound eating, let's say you open your feeding window at noon and you get there and you're absolutely ravenous. Maybe you need to push back your feeding window to 11. If 11 comes and you're hungry, then you should probably eat. If 9:30 comes and you're hungry, it's probably time to just start your feeding window there and adjust as your body needs. And there are going to be days where we wake up hungrier than others. But rebound eating, that's part of your body telling you something. Like I said a minute ago, it's always talking to you. Make sure that you're listening. I would never go shorter than an 8-hour feeding window. We need that time to get in ample calories. It's also not good to eat one large meal of, 2,000 calories a day. We need smaller meals kind of spread out. Let's see. So aside from that, I'm a big fan. I've done it before. I did it in the past. I want to say like 2 years ago, maybe I tried it. And I got a little obsessive about my food. I got a little obsessive about the calories that I was taking in, and I found that I was doing a little bit of rebound eating. And when I did that, I was a meat eater, so meat products tend to be higher in calories, and so I ended up eating a lot of my calories very early on in the day. And so then I felt like I had to pick and choose what I was eating in the evening. I have since tried it as a vegan, and I find it so much easier, primarily because plant-based foods tend to be less calorie dense. Rice, beans, vegetables, those sorts of things. As long as you're not, being a junkie vegan, it's going to be a lot easier. But so when I did it the first time, I did it for a couple of weeks. I realized what was happening, that I was becoming obsessive, that I was rebound eating. I stopped doing it, took a step back, and kind of reevaluated my relationship with food at that point. And so since I've tried it again, I have a little bit better mindset regarding it, and so it's a lot easier for me. So if you try it, doesn't work out for you right the first time, there's no reason why you can't stop doing it. Take a step back, reevaluate things, and then start it over again. So that's it. I put the blog in there. I'll make sure that I pin it for you guys. If you don't know, these blogs come out every Monday at 10 a.m. So you can always go to my webpage at CompleteHealthSB.com and pull up the blogs and look at all the blogs that I have out there. Every Monday the new blog comes out, and every Tuesday I do a Facebook Live on the topic of the blog. Next week we're talking sugar addiction, so you don't want to miss that one. Okay, so let's see. Do we have any questions? We may not have any questions. Do I have questions?
Can you do intermittent fasting along with the Joel Fuhrman strict 6-week plan?
I don't know that I would. So can I do intermittent fasting with the Joel Fuhrman plan? I don't know that. Well, let's say this. You can certainly try anything. As long as there's plenty of calories in the plan. Some of these medical type plans kind of rub me the wrong way because they're very limited in calories. So as long as the plan includes enough calories for you to get through the day, enough calories to make sure that your organs are functioning, your brain is, firing, you're able to function without feeling fatigued or zombie-ish, then I don't see an issue with it. And again, listen to your body. So if you try Dr. Fuhrman's plan and you're doing intermittent fasting and you find that it's too much, you need to drop one of them, take a step back, figure out what's working for you, what's not working for you, and then go back into it. Most people, when they want to get healthy, it's important to know that it really is trial and error. A lot of it is, okay, let's try this, that didn't work, let's try this, that didn't work, let's try this. So if you try the intermittent fasting along with the 6-week plan and it's not working, or you feel you're starting to become obsessive with the food, or you're feeling over fatigued, or it's impacting the way that you're functioning throughout the day or sleeping, then it's probably a good idea to take a step back from there and either do the plan or do the intermittent fasting. I hope that answered your question, Brenda. All right, well, that was a short one tonight. I don't see any other questions. If you're watching this after the live, feel free to post your comments in the comment section below, and I will get to those. And next week, sugar addiction. Have a good night, guys. Bye.